If all we had to do in translation was to match up words, life would be easy. But it doesn't happen that way.
That's a problem.
For a start, there are some words that you just can't say easily in other languages.
For years I've thought of these words together with Anne Noordhoff, the other Dutch nurse I used to work with, and there is one word in Dutch that you need a whole sentence for in English, and that's the word overzichtelijk. And that is a funny word. We thought of it, I'll give you a little example. We had to tidy up a cupboard, and Anne asked me, Pim, can you tidy up that cupboard and put it in a way so that it's... And then she looked at me and she said, overzichtelijk. And we just could not think of an English equivalent. And it doesn't mean just tidy and neat, it means that you can see it in one glance, but it's ordered in a way that you know straight away how it's done. Yes, it's a very difficult word to explain, really. It's a word that you would need several for in English.
That's a problem too.
Or maybe there are some words which seem to have the same meaning, but not quite.
We have one instance where this person, being an English speaker now, even in South Africa, when we have the two languages, you can come from an English background or an Afrikaans background, and yet it's amazing how we can actually make dreadful mistakes. And this lady, who was an English-speaking South African, translated a very nice woman into Afrikaans, where she said, "Sy is 'n baie lekker vrou." Well, lekker in Afrikaans doesn't mean nice. It means very tasty, or it's a good party, but you don't ever use it with a person. So she was translating, she's a very tasty woman. I mean, very...
Now that could be a problem.
Or there are expressions which don't seem to make much sense.
Yeah, I was working at the casino and I was dealing a card. We were playing blackjack, and one of the customers, he was a regular customer, and we became friendly then. We became a friend, usually. And then he was telling me a story, and then I couldn't understand, and he was saying, "Oh, you are pulling my legs." And then I couldn't understand what he meant. And I said to him, "How could I pull your legs? I couldn't even reach you."
And that's a problem too.
Why does this kind of thing happen all the time? One reason is because all people have things and ideas which are important in their culture and daily life, and which other people in other cultures don't know much about.
You'll discover as you're working words you've never seen before, belonging to a culture from a far offshore. They may suggest a way of thinking that to you is strange or new. That means you've got to ask around and do some study too.
In coastal areas of Australia and in the South Pacific, people have lots of words to do with fishing and with boats. But in desert countries, such words are few. On the other hand, in desert countries, there are lots of words to do with camels, but not in the South Pacific. Australian Aboriginal languages have far more words for different kinds of relatives than in English. But in some other languages, they change the way of talking depending on who they are talking to. For example, in the Nepali language, there are 3 different ways of saying, "Where are you going?" If you were talking to an important person or an older person, you would say,
"Pai kahan jana hunta?"
or to a friend of your own age group,
"Timi kahan jan chao?"
or to young children or servants.
"Tan kahan janchas?"
But this doesn't happen in Aboriginal languages.
So what can you do about that problem?
There are lots of words in English and in your language too that don't match up exactly. I can prove that this is true. Sometimes you find a single word translates to 3 or 4, and cases have been known where we need it even more. So work out the meaning so you know what it is, and translate the same meaning so your work is not a quiz.
That's one way. Use 2 or 3 or more words to get across the same meaning. For example, in Mandarin, they don't just have one word for zoo, but 3.
Like the other example for bus, bus, only one word, but for the Chinese, have got 4 words, Gong Kyung, Hi Cha.
But sometimes you can't put something in just 2 or 3 or 4 words. Listen to this example from Tamil, where Impam is talking about confetti, such as people throw at the bride and groom on their wedding day.
கான்ஃபெட்டி வைபவங்களில் எறியப்படும் ஒரு வகை பலவர்ண காகித பந்துகள். It is the small balls of flour thrown on occasions. So it needs all these words to describe that in Tamil.
We don't have the concept of boomerang in Sri Lanka, so we call it boomerang. We borrow that word from English and we use it as boomerang. We don't have one single word. We explain the word in Sinhala. We say dama gasu vita ilakketa noadunot aapasu ena namu li paturakin sadu Australianu aviya. So it's quite a long thing. We explain what it is. Kind of a weapon made out of a wooden piece, which is thrown, and if it doesn't hit the target, it comes back to you.
But imagine if every time you told a story about a boomerang in Sinhalese, you had to use all those words.
That's a problem.
But the Sinhalese people solve it by borrowing the word boomerang into their language. This happens all over the world. For example, in English, there are lots of borrowed words. The word umbrella comes from Italian, the word shampoo from Hindi, and the word tea from Chinese. But when you are translating, you can't just use borrowed words wildly every time you can't think of how to translate something. There are other ways again.
You can try reading the textbook.
Some languages squeeze a few things or a few ideas into one word.
Now that's a problem.
Yeah, well actually in Norwegian it's stacks of them, because we have a tendency of putting words together and making one word of it. One word is møysommelig, meaning to do something with great difficulty and also a bit of patience, a bit of suffering too along the way, I think. So it's a concept, not one word.
Whatever can you do about that problem?
Read the textbook.
Our job is to get the meaning across in a way that sounds right for our language. We can't make our languages sound like Norwegian or something. It's got to be itself.
And here's a different problem.
We go to visit with the friend. Friend just say, take a chair, take a chair. We think just take a chair to and this meaning they sit on the chair. Yeah. Because there's this different, They mean Chinese take a chair to take a chair.
The word take in English is used in all kinds of funny places. Take a rest, take a wife, take time. And it's not always the same in other languages. The word strike in English is another one. Usually it means hit someone with a stick. But it can be used in other ways too, like he was struck by lightning. If you translated this word by word into Tamil, it would sound like the lightning became like a stick and hit you.
That's a problem. What can you do about that?
So in Tamil, when you strike someone with a stick, you use
அடிபட்டான்.
And when lightning strikes somebody, you use the word
தாக்கப்பட்டான்.
which means hurt or harm.
And wasn't there another problem?
Oh, you mean those expressions that don't make sense, like, you're pulling my leg? Yes, there are plenty of those.
When first I come to Darwin, I heard people say true blue. So it's true blue is in my language. True meaning betul, is blue meaning blue. So I thought it's true blue is you know, it's color blue. So I said, oh, must be that blue color is real blue. So
You could never guess from the words, but it means a true Australian, a true national. But this happens in other languages too.
Yes, one of my high school students, we were doing comprehension, and she was translating buaya darat. Buaya means crocodile, darat means land. But then she didn't know. She was just trying to translate it per word, and it becomes land crocodile, which the meaning of that buaya darat is the con man, the man who always tries to con you.
So what can you do about that problem?
Here's a good idea. Read the textbook.
When you are translating, don't do it word by word. If you do it that way, it'll sound absurd. We translate the meaning, that's the major point, or else our message will be sadly out of joint. First, work out the meaning so you know what it is, then translate the same meaning. Man, you can't miss.
Ah, the world is full of problems.